Top 10 Ecosystem Essay Topics. Tropical rainforest, what threatens this ecosystem? This topic encourages you to explore various threats facing tropical rainforests. Examples include deforestation, habitat loss, illegal logging, and climate change. How do these threats affect biodiversity and the global environmental situation? What conservation efforts and sustainable practices can help address these problems? The impact of the toxic substances on the marine ecosystem. In this essay, you should explore the effects of toxic substances, like crude oil, pesticides, and antifoulants, on the marine ecosystem. In particular, you can examine their impact on living organisms, water quality, and food chains. How can we mitigate these effects? What regulations and sustainable practices can be helpful for preserving the marine ecosystem? The desert ecosystem's complex interrelationships. Here, your task is to explore the unique characteristics of the desert ecosystem. How do flora, fauna, and abiotic factors interact with each other? How do human activities and climate change affect the desert ecosystem? Answer these questions in your essay. Urban system creating global ecosystem pressure. For this topic, you can study how urbanization and rapid population growth influence the global ecosystem. In particular, you can examine how urban development entails habitat destruction, pollution, and altered natural processes. What sustainable urban planning strategies can mitigate the negative impact of the city's growth on the environment? How does water hyacinth harm the local ecosystem? In this paper, you can analyze the invasive nature of water hyacinths and their detrimental impact on aquatic ecosystems. Some effects to explore include disruptions in water flow, decreased oxygen levels, and threats to native species. How can people control the spread of this plant to reduce its adverse effects? The impact of tourism on the ecosystem. The impact of tourism on ecosystems is often deemed negative. Indeed, it puts stress on local land use and can lead to habitat degradation, waste generation, and disturbance of wildlife. Yet, there are also positive effects of tourism on ecology. For example, it encourages local communities to preserve nature to continue attracting tourists. You can explore these and other aspects in your essay. The impact of logging and deforestation on an ecosystem. This essay should focus on the effects of logging and deforestation on terrestrial ecosystems. Consider consequences such as biodiversity loss, disrupted nutrient cycles, and soil degradation. How can reforestation efforts and sustainable forestry practices reverse these negative impacts? European rabbit in the Australian ecosystem. Some believe that European rabbits were first introduced to Australia in 1859 when a wealthy English settler called Thomas Austin brought several of these creatures to his estate for hunting. About 50 years later, these invasive creatures turned out to be a disaster for Australia. They destroyed crops and led to massive soil erosion. You can explore this story in detail and explain its broader implications. Natural biochemical cycles in the ecosystem. Here, you can explain the three main natural biochemical cycles, the carbon, water, and nitrogen ones. Explore the key processes characteristic of each cycle. What role do they have in sustaining life on our planet? How does climate change affect them? Answer these questions in your essay. The role of the Endangered Species Act in ecosystem management. The Endangered Species Act of 1973 is the central U.S. law aimed at protecting plants and animals on the brink of extinction. How effective is this legislation in habitat protection and conservation efforts for at-risk species? Support your discussion with examples.